Listen up. Now the king hangs out in the pagoda in the center of town, where a unit of dirty cops guard his every move, and he rarely leaves the crowd, except to meet up with his dealer in a pad overlooking the square. He also got a swanky European ride parked in a nearby alley, but that's all I got, Holmes. So, call me back when you're done. Got it?
We had to make the guys in the world tell you a lot of stories about what was going on in their part of the world, or in the checkpoints coming up, or maybe even get your feedback on some stuff that happened in the previous levels. And now it's not just one handler talking to you, it's every NPC who could probably be saying something that you needed to know. And while that was obviously a big challenge to do at first, it also very much became apparent that it's a big strength in the game, that if you listen to the banter between NPCs throughout the game, there will always be something for you to pick up. Sometimes it's just fun stuff, building their characters, but at other times it's actually stuff that can really help you solve whatever problems you have, or make you understand the context of what you're doing. So we're really happy about how that turned out, even though it was a challenge in the beginning.
You going down? Wow, exciting evening, huh? Lots of heavy stuff going down. Heard it's all about one man. He must be a dangerous son of a bitch.
Defining the range of 47's abilities, and at the same time also working with the early steps of the AI, saying just how far do we want to push it.
Because it meant that the AI also, it's a completely different way that they can communicate with each other. It's far more realistic approach, that alertness will propagate through the levels as it would feel more natural. If you raise an alarm by someone in a corner, they won't automatically be able to contact anyone else unless they kind of yell out, or they call on the radio, or they run to get help. Then you can still contain the situation and then progress through the level as if nothing happened.
So early on, getting really focus on responsiveness, making sure that he was nice to control, that you had a very, very good feeling when you control 47, and then starting to understand what does it mean to be unstoppable.
Are you a silent assassin, or do you want to kill everyone in your way? Both require exceptional skill to master.
Well, I think at the core of everything Hitman related is the fantasy of being the ultimate assassin, right? And a big part of being the ultimate assassin is not necessarily to be the one who shoots everyone and then walks away. It's actually about performing the hit only on your mark, and the rest of the world doesn't know you were there. So that's a very, very big part of every Hitman game, and it's also a big part of Absolution's code of honor, if you will, that the best way to do everything is actually for the world to never know you were there.
Snowman!
But then on top of that, there's the experimentation side, where from that very smooth, very precise hit, you can transcend into madness, right? And the grayscale in between is actually where I also think a lot of the enjoyment of the franchise lies, that you try to aim for perfection, something goes wrong, and then you have to deal with all this stuff that happens. So I think the fans are looking for ways to try to aim for perfection, and then I also think everyone secretly hopes that there's also this room for error, which is also pretty fun.
When we first got in the lethal throwing feature, when you could throw certain props and they would take out characters, that became an instant hit on the team, and everybody was trying to see if they could make it through the entire game just with a screwdriver or an axe or something like that. So yeah, it's full of moments like that. You can play it however you want. There's a huge stealth fan base that we cater to. They want to sneak around and take out the target and slip away unseen, and there's also a large group of people that want to go in guns blazing and get into a huge gunfight with car crashes and explosions and buildings on fire, and you can have all of those things. And that's what I mean when I say it's very much a blank canvas for you to paint however you'd like.
One of the things we do on the team is that we actually get user sessions almost from the get-go. The second we have something playable, which we aim to do very, very early in the project, is also when we invite the first users to come and give feedback on what they're experiencing. The world is completely gray and you don't always know what you're doing, and still we manage to get a lot of good feedback from guys. Are we hitting the marks? What don't they understand when they play the game? What do they understand? What do they like?
Maybe they just want to chill,
They don't want to chill! Everyone wants to chill!
Whoa, whoa, whoa! You're freaking out, dude!
in the beginning it's more one-to-one sessions, really getting into the minds of people, and later we ramp up and we have more people coming in and playing. It's more a broad perspective, getting, you know, balancing right, getting the difficulties right, getting an understanding of different player types. So we invite old fans of the franchise who've been playing all the previous titles and know everything there is to know about 47. And we also get people in that haven't heard about Hitman at all, and then we get them to play it to see, okay, where is the barrier of entry? Is it too hard? Is it too easy? And we also know that we have a pretty vast range of expectations.
Every day he's yelling at me, yelling, just like my mom. Every time, can't take it anymore.
For Absolution, one of the main areas that we really focus on is the communication part. Both because some of the elements in the game are quite complex. I mean, our AI is very advanced. It can do a lot of different things and it can be in a lot of different states. So that means as a player, how do we communicate this to you without maybe over-communicating a lot of different things or under-communicating so you don't know what you're supposed to do in a situation? It's always been about creativity and trying to solve the missions you're on in many different ways. And that means that we need to communicate to you that there is something to do, but at the same time the real challenge is to not spoil it for you.
Hey, you know you can't park there, boys.
Yeah, and yet we did.
The technology that was made for the first Hitman game also laid the foundation for every other game we did up until this point. So it's only now that we actually got the opportunity to make completely new technology from scratch, which is called Glacier 2, which is what's powering Absolution, and it's made completely in fusion with the game design. So everything that the mechanics needs and the art direction and sound needs, it's been made custom for this game.
We had very high ambitions for Absolution, and early on it was also really clear that would require new technology to fulfill our ambitions with more complex, advanced AI, with more advanced crowd and the production values, the graphics, the levels and all that.
You want the engine to be the editor at the same time, so you have the world and you edit things and then you hit play, or even you edit things while you're playing. And that gives a very improved feedback cycle.
It did allow us to, for instance, tailor-make the render to fit with the art direction. If you look at the very first concepts from the game, they're very much realized within the engine that we have.
But cover and secure the area up there.
So iterating on your level design and kind of game design is extremely important for us.
All right, you heard the man. Split up. It's good to see you. Think we can catch this perpetrator?
The alpha stage is the stage where everything comes together. You've done your pre-production, you know what 47 is able to do, you know what the AI is able to do, and now you start piecing together all the levels, building them first of all, getting all the assets in, if not polished, but they're in, right? So you know what people are saying, what characters are there, what weapons are there.
Hey! Who's screwing about?
This is the first time you really play it through and through, and also the entire game you start getting your horizontal slice where you get every level after one another. You get the cutscenes in, you start seeing how does the story fit with the gameplay. You see if you have some levels that need love in terms of intensity, or you can see that how they fit pacing wise. So if you've been hard pressed, as you know, in our E3 level, Run for Your Life, we really showed this, the police are now hunting you. After that, you also need a little bit of a breather saying, okay, relax, you're allowed in this place. We have a strip club, for instance, where you're pretty much allowed to roam wherever you want, and you have to do a hit as a pace change from being always chased by police. So that's the point in time in alpha where you actually start understanding the different elements, how they really fit together. Obviously, you know your ideas up front. I mean, we plan all this stuff and we talk about it, but that's when you see it the first time. And then we go into beta, which is about saying, okay, now all the stuff is in there. We believe we have the pace in the game as we wanted to. We believe that we have the different events mapped out as we wanted, and the gameplay feels varied when we look at the game as a whole. Every line of voice acting has to be recorded by real actors.
Bertie was right, he's in Hope, South Dakota.
And the girl?
She is not with him.
47's moveset is final and complete. You go into the details of the minute or by minute actions, or the sometimes second by second stuff.
Sometimes gameplay wise it kind of fell off slightly, so then we had to pull back and say how can we kind of refocus the level into something that is more interesting to play and more engaging.
And for the AI, you know, how long they give chase, so how should that play out second by second, not just mechanically, but what is he saying, when does the voice actor start upping his projecting, telling you to freeze, all that stuff we start fine-tuning at this point.
Who the hell are you?
and then it might be something with the lighting, it might be that we need to add some rooms, even subtract some parts of the levels that didn't really serve a purpose with the gameplay that was changed. Also, since the AI is constantly evolving, there are also things in the level that might change due to the AI suddenly being able to understand more or see more. Then we have to maybe remove some characters because it got too difficult, or add new guards to an area because they got too easy, stuff like that. So there's a lot of adjustments to be done on everything.
So the kind of the polished experience gets to be there. That's also typically where the music, both the generic music system that kicks in all the time, but also the individual level scores, they really start making it in, and you really get the appreciation of how is the final game going to look. At this point, it's about understanding the entire thing, the whole, if you will. So the connection between how the AI is working now, how 47 is working, how the levels are coming together, what the player understands at that point in the game, how good is he at this point in the game, because we constantly have to raise the bar a little bit, make the game a little bit harder. As you progress, you start understanding the game better, right? So at the moment, we're really trying to understand, at what point in the game do you understand these concepts completely, and we can start playing with them or turning the tables on you. So balancing it and also saying, okay, we focused very much on one difficulty level, now it's focusing on all difficulty levels. So making sure that the experts really get their match, and also making sure that people who maybe just be there for the story, that they also get a good and meaningful experience.
Now while we're in beta, it's much more a qualitative milestone where all the directors are extremely busy with the team, working, you can say, quality into every single moment and every single level of the game. We've also had new findings both from the team, and every week we do new user research and new external feedback on the levels that we also feed back into the backlog, saying that these are things that now we have to address. We have a number of levels every fortnight that we put into focus, and then from a direction point of view we will set some high-level goals, and then during those 2 weeks, the teams in those levels will be working very closely with the gameplay director, art director, audio director, and myself in finishing off those levels into a proper beta stage. And then when that's done, we will move other levels into focus. So we'll get through everything in this kind of beta phase. It's a negotiation who has to cover certain kind of story gaps or transition difficulties, you could say. They would say, okay, the level guys would say, oh, we'll deal with that in the cutscene. The cutscene guys say, no, it's not going to happen. We can't do that. We don't have any facial. We don't have the scene itself. Whatever reason, it might be too expensive, or we don't have time. Then it's okay, fine. What do we do? Do we do it with the GUI? Do we do it on the level itself, just making a sequence that leads up to it? So these are all negotiations that we'll have to take with the team and finding the best solution. Of course, everybody just wants to make something that is great, so they're trying to kind of push themselves as far as possible, but sometimes it's just beyond the breaking point, right? And we also want a team that can survive the entire beta phase, and ourselves included. It's just wasting our time, to claiming it fixed all the time. They have to check it in a build to see that it works, not in the editor.
I agree. And then general beta deliverables, you've got Pigeons Are Strange. What was that? Is that an observation or a task? Okay. Pigeons Are Strange, when you're a stranger.
Everyone is working long hours to make the game happen. It's a point in time where most of us are actually pretty tired. I don't know if I look sleepy, but most of us are actually. We spend a lot of time here at I.O. really trying to polish the game.
It's pretty tough, especially on the leads and the game management, because the management is in crunch throughout the entire period, while parts of the team might be in crunch at different phases, because their levels will come into focus, and then they will kind of work on the general backlog until something else comes into focus. So we're trying to find a way to not put too much pressure on every single person at any given time, but it is a very difficult balance, right? Because there is a lot of work to get through, and we need basically all hands on deck to pull through with this project. It is incredibly large and ambitious project.
It's also a period where the hard work pays off, because that's when we can seal off a level and say, now this is actually done, and we can see it for what it is, and that's a good thing, right? You see how the cutscenes are really conveying the story with emotion. You can really feel what the game is about, and then you jump into a level with a feeling inside that you didn't have before, and now the level plays out in a different way, and it's also not very buggy, it's pretty polished. So this feeling carries over until the next cutscene that now triggers, and you start understanding what is the experience really that we are building. So on one hand, it's a period of hardship, if you will, because we're really working hard, and on the other side, it's also a period where people start falling in love again with the game.
There needs to be a lot of exposure and a lot of, you can say, buzz around the game, and that's the kind of PR and marketing and sales part of it. But you can also say, from a creative point of view, actually showing the game to someone external and getting feedback on that is extremely valuable for us.
E3 means a lot for any game that is being presented here, but it means especially a lot for Hitman Absolution, because the title was presented at last year's E3 and it was received really well, but we wanted to make an even better presentation this year, and we are coming with different types of codes. We are coming with the King of Chinatown, that is a hands-on demo. We are presenting the Sniper Challenge that we are releasing as a pre-order incentive, and we are also having a closed-door demo of the Streets of Hope.
For a game like Hitman, it's really critical for us to be exposed and to get a lot of coverage from the game, because it's such a big project.
We're here because it's the biggest show in the industry calendar, and it's going to define how successful we really will be. It's a great, almost litmus test for the press and for the retailers when they see your product alongside every other product. You know, they move around this show over the 3 days and they'll see everything the industry has to offer.
I think you have to be at E3 simply because that's where all the key influencers are. So you have all your key media, you have all your sales guys, you have everyone who may have an interest in your game apart from consumers are here. So everyone needs to be here just to show off the game, just to get a lot of buzz and a lot of coverage out of this thing. It is the biggest media event of the year, definitely, for anyone.
Last year was an amazing E3 for us. I think we kind of came a little bit of an underdog. People didn't know too much about us. We didn't know what we had to offer. I think we surprised a few people, winning 19 awards, 50 nominations, and in many ways it put us on the map. You know, the guys worked really hard to put that piece of code together, and we worked really hard to show it to people in the right way. You know, we did press events off-site on Catalina Island, and we really went to a lot of effort to kind of make our first impression a strong impression. And yeah, it sets a high bar for the second E3. You know, and I talk a lot amongst the team about how your second E3 is the difficult E3. You know, because it's the year where you're a known entity, a known quantity, and in many ways the press are looking forward to seeing new things at this show. You know, break-in products, brand new products. And when you're known and people kind of have an expectation about what you are, it's very hard to come in with the same impact and surprise and excite in the same way. And yet you need to. Again, as I said, it defines how successful you're going to be. So yeah, a lot more pressure and a lot more work, and we think really carefully about, you know, what do we show and how do we show it.
Alright, so we're here at the Square Enix booth. We've got the huge screen here that's going to have the trailers on it. And then we've got all the artwork all over the place. We've got some customized headphones as well, which are really actually quite cool. They're still setting up now, so there's loads of people around, boxes and bits of tape and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so this is the theatre. This will be showing a different Tor Bluestyle, the game director, and Roberto Marchesi, the art director as well. They'll be in each room, and all the journalists will be coming back here in the next few days to have a chat with them, basically. I can show you the meeting room as well, I think. If you watch out for the cables. You can see on here, we've got the little logo on the wall, so you know where you're going. And it's the most air-conned room you've ever been in. It's extremely cold. We've got the trailer running, and of course the seats there to sit in, and the same artwork on the wall as well. That's pretty much Hitman at E3 so far.
I have a little office in the back of the booth where I think I'll be spending most of my time in here. I won't be seeing any of the glitter on the floor. And so
Oh, the next few days are going to be extremely packed with interviews and presenting the code to journalists, and it will be very intense.
I'm going to do tons of live shows, IGN, Machinima, etc. Obviously just to talk about our new game. I'm really excited about that. test the sound first with the microphones that are going to do that now?
Are you guys demoing the same thing that's in the presentation?
Agitated, looking for what happened, looking for something has happened, right? But I don't know it's you, so you can just go unseen out there. Agent 47 has been laying low for a while, and now he got this very personal contract. Now he works for the agency, ICA, and his handler is Diana. That people that know the franchise would know her, Diana Burnwood, and he actually gets contracts to kill her. This time, you know, a lot of fans have been asking, oh, this feels so good to be here right now, and also these interviews, right, to convey that it's still very much a Hitman game, right? So I'm almost trying to sell it to you right now, but I really feel it's important.
So we've got the awards that we've been given so far. Most of them are nominations from places like IGN, 1UP, Game Informer. And what happens is basically the journalists walk around the show, they take a look at the videos that they've seen around the place, and the ones they like the best, they give us an award, a nomination, and we're sticking them all up here so when people come in they can basically see how well we're doing. And we've just got another one from GameSpy, nominee for Best of E3. So we're ready to stick it up on the shelf. And that's our collection so far on day 2.
It's such a relief to be here finally. We've been working so much for this to happen, and to see it here feels overwhelming as a developer coming here and seeing your game getting that kind of exposure as like a once-in-a-lifetime experience for us.
One of the main things, as we saw when we went to E3 this time, is that we were coming and showing new facets of the game, and we immediately get reactions from fans and press, which is actually quite helpful and very encouraging to us to see, okay, how do they actually respond? So this E3, for instance, was the first time ever that someone actually got hands-on with the game. We allowed press to play the King of Chinatown through and through, replay it and replay it and replay it, and we know that they kind of loved all this, you know, finding all the different ways of killing the king. And when they get that experience, that's also what they convey to all the people who are watching and trying to understand what is Hitman Absolution about. So it's super valuable to us, and it's also very nice to get a lot of the good feedback we get from it.
The efforts from the Square team and the booth that we had and the kind of amount of pods, the amount of presence we had at E3 was phenomenal. And all the press that we met was really, really positive about. This was kind of our, what we call like the proof part of the campaign. We're proving this is a real Hitman game. There is the real choice that we always talk about. And that was absolutely hammered home at E3, which we were very happy about. Well, we're here in Cologne to show off the last missing piece of Hitman Absolution to the press, which is contracts mode.
There's a lot of journalists in here right now. I think 270 journalists from across the world, so pretty exciting.
It's super exciting for us. This is, we believe, what we call the exciter of the project.
10-4. Someone bring me the blueprints for this place, for Christ's sake.
You always need something new and exciting when you release a game that will make people talk about it. And we've been showing off things that are more or less like the old Hitman games, just kind of expanded upon everything. But this is something that is completely new and hopefully something that will knock their socks off.
People loved it. I talk to a lot of guys right now and they're really surprised actually, like this is something new, this is something fresh. We really want to play that, so couldn't be better. And that's why we kept it, you know, as the last puzzle piece to add it on top of what's already awesome, right? So we're in a good spot right now and I'm very happy about it.
I think it's definitely one of the leaders in providing a cinematic experience, absolutely. I think what we pulled off for the cutscene shoot, I don't think has been done yet for games. So the amount of actors that we had on set and the amount of footage that we recorded for it. A lot of the staff at Giant remarked while we were there that this was like a film shoot. The size of the script that we were working with and how we approached it was very much from a film sensibility.
It's quite amazing that some of the very early sketches that we did some, you can see some mood boards from the game that was quite extreme in the sense of it was very different from the previous Hitman games, and they were quite diverse. And those, looking back at those, there's still most of the, you can say, the energy and the kind of ideas inside is still carried through to the game until the very end, which also makes me very happy that we didn't really lose the kind of core of the new style that Hitman Absolution took from the previous Hitman games.
It's been quite a ride. It's by far one of the most complex games I've ever worked on. It's in its nature to be unpredictable, and I think that's been the main challenge and also the main point of why it's so fun to work on it.
The times where we are limiting ourselves quite a lot is where also the best ideas comes up, because we know if we have very little time or we have very little resources to do a specific part of the game, all these kind of alternative and interesting ideas come up and say, what if we did this and turn everything on its head?
I've enjoyed the team immensely. We've got an incredible group of animators working on the team. Going to LA and doing the shoot with working with the actors and the staff and just everybody there has been absolutely a highlight of my career. Learning so much from the actors there. We couldn't have asked for a better cast. Everybody was so interactive, and when their shot was over they didn't just leave the set. They were there and joking with everybody, eating lunch with the whole crew, and it was just an amazing opportunity.
It's very powerful as a motivating factor for all of us working on the team to see people caring so much about the game, because you can say it's a commercial product that has to be released and it has to make money, but on the other side it's also a piece of entertainment, and it has to entertain people and make them happy and challenged and moved, hopefully.
What I hope is that a lot of players get this experience of, okay, this happened, so now that happened, so now I have to do this, and then I hide in here, and then this happens, and I find this item, and then this happens. And that they really understand that at this point they are playing a game that is their own experience.
I think of it as a niche game, a game that hit the assassin nerve, where you're the predator and you can sneak around in a sandbox environment and have different ways of taking out your opponent. And I don't think any of the other Assassin's games that have come up since, any of the other stealth games, quite hit that just yet. So we kind of still have our own little thing which is quite unique for Hitman.
Really like it when I see people doing stuff they didn't expect to do in the game. So they have plans, something happens, and then they did something unexpected. That's the best part.
While you're working on it, it's basically nothing, right? I mean, the game is nothing until it's on a shelf, and you can say it's just a dream, and it might be a dream that is more and more kind of actually being real, but unless it can actually fit on a DVD, run at the frame rate it needs to run, comply to all the TRCs, and being pushed through distribution and everything, then it's done, right? Then you can say, now let's get on with our lives, do something new.